We've been proudly singing to our fans that he's one of our own. He's one of our own. David Gower. He's one of our own.
There's an older song than that. Okay, cool.
Right, so hello there. Let's, of course, get cracking with this third test preview because we moved from Lords to Leeds, and I'm always going to be joined by some fine company and talking about David Gower, of course. David, nice to see you yet again. Hope all is well. Headingley, what does this mean to you as a test match and generally good memories in this ground?
A mix, actually. I think personal ones at Headingley are a bit mixed. I didn't always thrive there. It's a strange, or strange is the wrong word. It's a peculiar environment because Headingley is infamous for being different day by day, dependent on the weather. And I mean, I hate to be very British about this and always talk about the weather, but it seems to be something that you just cannot get away from. If it's, I mean, the simple rule is this: if it's sunny, it plays pretty well. If it's overcast, it tends to help the fast medium, not necessarily the faster bowlers, but the fast medium bowlers. If what they call kiss the surface and just skim it on a good length, then it gives it time to swing. It'll just grip on the surface, maybe do a bit off the seam. So I've seen, I mean, over the years, what was the quickest game I've seen there was 2 days when England beat the West Indies, probably, where are we now, 20 years ago, give or take, when Andy Caddick got wickets, when even Brian Lara could do nothing to stem the flow of wickets. And that game accelerated rapidly to a close within 2 days. I'm certainly not predicting that. Mind you, my predictions have been rubbish anyway so far, but I'm certainly not predicting that for this current game. But I think the side, and this is probably most obvious to everyone actually, the side under most pressure is England, because things have not gone their way. There are problems they need to solve, and we'll discuss in a moment whether they might have solved them.
Okay, predictions wise, if you guys are just joining us and not seen David's predictions prior to the series, he went for a 2-2, and that could still well turn out to be true, but it's now looking a little dodgy. We'll leave it there, but we'll start, of course, with India in terms of building up this third test. Now, without Kohli, David, he admitted post-match that they're not going to go, of course, rest on their laurels. They're going to go harder, in fact. And how big a statement will it be for this team if they actually turn out to be victors at Leeds as well?
Inevitably a very big statement. I mean, let's look back over the last 12 months or so, roughly, and say, India away from home, that Australian win was spectacular. That was against the odds and showed an awful lot of character from, there was something like 20 players involved in that series. So it was a real rarity for a side to keep changing, obviously by injury, by absences, whatever it was, the combination of all those factors. To keep changing a side and to win is a spectacular success, I have to say that. Coming to England now, this time, Virat as the leader, as captain, it's something he would love to tick off. And as we always say when we talk about Virat Kohli, there is so much passion that comes oozing out of every pore. I mean, you can see it, it's so obvious on him. And his great ambition, I'm sure, over the next few weeks is to seal this series. If you go 2-0 up in this next test match with 2 to play, obviously you can't lose the series. But again, it gives you a fabulous springboard just to win one more game and actually win the series, which would be an equally spectacular achievement. Now, there is always this thing, you'd rather be the side that's just won a test match than the side that's just lost one. Some years ago, England had this sort of ability, I forget how long ago, again, a decade ago or so, they coined the word bounce back ability. So after a bad loss, they'd win a game, and then they'd probably lose again, and then they'd win again. So if England can find that bounce back ability, then they can make it 1-1. My predictions still have some legs in them, and we can go looking forward to the next 2 games, the final 2 games, with those predictions very much alive, and the series very much alive. But as I say, if you're the 2 sides, trying to choose between the 2 sides now, India would appear to have the greater resilience. They've got more men in form overall, both with the bat and with the ball. So I mean, England relies so heavily on Joe Root, and we've seen that problem. That top 3 issue hasn't gone away. So Lords was a classic example where the top 3 disappeared in both innings in the blink of an eye. So you cannot have a good side. No good side, no proper test team survives without a top 3. So that's something that needs to change very, very quickly for England. And they have made that one change, bringing in Milan. Now, he is now I mean, he's not a Yorkshireman, but he's playing at Yorkshire. So maybe Cheteshwar Pujara could identify with that, somebody who went to Yorkshire and had to become an honorary Yorkshireman. So Milan is that. He will have had some games, he'll have had some cricket up at Headingley, which won't do any harm. That kind of helps. But at the same time, he is yet another player with this current system in the UK coming into a test match. So coming into the toughest form of cricket, trying to fill one of the most important slots, which is the number 3 slot. And the last time he played red ball cricket is months ago. He's been part of a 100 team. He's been playing well in the 100, so he'll have some sort of confidence from that. But he's now got to make a huge adjustment, I would say, to make this work, because he's going to be up against a new ball attack, most likely, unless there is a miracle at the top. Burns and Hamid now as the new opening partnership. Unless there's a miracle up there and there are 50, 60, 80 runs on the board when Milan comes to the crease, he is going to be facing an attack that is full of confidence, full of ability, skill, everything, every quality, skill, ability, the confidence of winning, the confidence of having things go their way. So that's going to be a mighty tough ask. And then if that doesn't work, Joe Root is in there again with no runs on the board. So that's the thing that England most want to solve somehow. And it can change. We do see these things happen. What the odds are is I'd hate to say, but the odds are no better than 50-50 of a big improvement at the top.
Yeah, and let's see how, of course, that pans out for England, because it's almost paper over crack. Some would say that you're getting Bairstow in from the 100. We saw that they got Moeen Ali to the, of course, back into the test match scheme of things from the 100, and now Milan. I'll come to that in just due course, but let's stick with India a little bit more, because you were in high praise post Lords, and rightly so. You, of course, were really talking about the Pacers and the rest of the team as well. Would you make any changes, having said all of that, going into Headingley?
Probably not. Why try and fix something that's not broken? I mean, the one talking point, we discussed this, and we'll always discuss this, I think, when there's a test match being played by India and Ravichandran Ashwin has a great chance of carrying the drinks yet again. Headingley is not the place for 2 spinners. And if they've gone with Jadeja for the first couple, I think they'll stick with him. The batting, again, Ashwin does make hundreds in test cricket, so there's nothing wrong with his batting. And there's obviously absolutely nothing wrong with his bowling, apart from the fact all he's bowled in the last few weeks.
Sorry, can I just come in here, David? Because I just want to play devil's advocate in terms of Ashwin, because you're talking about the likes of Milan. That'll mean another left-hander thrown in the mix for England, possibly 3 in the top 7. Does that give Ashwin some sort of edge to perhaps play them?
Yeah, it does. I mean, it means that the Indian team management will have to think about that. I mean, the likelihood is that the damage will be done by the quicker bowlers. That would be, I think, everyone's suspicion, because they're in form. And again, just to make the point again, Headingley does tend to help the quicker bowlers, the seam bowlers, especially, rather more than the swing bowlers, but a bit of both. And it doesn't help spinners. It's never helped spinners. I mean, to the extent that more than once I've gone up there and I've had, for instance, Chairman Selector saying to me, do we need any spinners? Let's just play 4 seamers and maybe a bit of an all-rounder who can, like a Joe Root, for instance, who can bowl handy spin. So that's what people tend to think when they go to Leeds. I think you make a very good point, to be fair, that with more left-handers coming in, maybe the ball turning away might have some merit. So actually that brings Ashwin into the frame for sure. But again, I'll just say now, I'll be immensely surprised if there's more than 1 spinner. So there could be a change if Ashwin comes in for the left-handers. Otherwise, it'll still be Jadeja, and otherwise it'll still be the 4 seamers who've done basically the bulk of the damage so far.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I think there will be chopping and changing in the 4th and 5th test, because it comes down to fatigue and match time. And I think Ashwin is most likely placed the 4th test, which is at the Oval, and he already got a stint with Sussex in as well. So that will put him in good stead. Let's, of course, talk about England's team then. And I want to put you on the spot right now, because if you were in that dressing room and if you had to actually name the 11 for the Headingley test, given that there is cloud cover and there's something in it for the seamers, what would your 11 look like for the English team?
Oh, the 11. Well, at the top, I think we know pretty much from the squad that's been picked, where we probably get 9 out of 10, 9 or 10 pretty straightforwardly. I mean, it's going to be Burns and Hamid. It's going to
Okay.
be Milan. It's going to be Root. Bairstow, actually, I think has looked very good. I think it's been very interesting to watch because this argument that I keep mentioning, i.e. people coming out of white ball cricket into a test match. Well, actually, Johnny Bairstow this time round, he had a bit of form with Welsh Fire in the 2 games he played in the 100. Then he comes into the test match and he actually looked the part, I thought,
Yeah.
in both test matches, the first and second test matches, he looked the part. So Trent Bridge and Lords, he seems to have done something there. He's got his mind settled, I think, and he looked pretty good. So actually, that's all going well.
So you'd bat Bairstow at 3, or would you bat Root at 3?
No. I'm sorry. It's Burns, Hamid, Milan, 1, 2, 3.
Okay.
I mean, I know it's. I'm afraid Root is going to stay at 4, whatever happens. That's where he gets his runs. And as a captain, you sometimes think you need 10 minutes to gather your thoughts before you go and bat again. So if you put him at 3, there's every chance he'd have 1 minute. I mean, that sounds a bit cynical. It sounds a bit pessimistic, but I think 4's his place. He does make runs there, and you'd rather have Root making his usual, shall we say, 150 at 4, than tinkering with him and maybe it not working at 3. So Root at 4, Bairstow at 5 is absolutely fine by me. Pope needs runs. Moen, looks actually, again, this thing about coming from the 100, coming from white ball to red ball. Moen actually has done okay. So I think he will be fine as the spinner there, given that balance that anyway, including Leeds, sometimes you need. And then it's Butler. I mean, Butler first, maybe Butler and some seamers. So how many have I got there? So we got Anderson for sure.
Yeah.
He's had a week off, so Anderson is bowling beautifully, so he'll play unless there are any niggles, any problems that come up in the next day or so. Robinson bowls well, so he's got to play. Wood, I don't know quite what the current state.
No, he's out. Wood's out for this match.
Yeah, yeah, that's fine. So that's sorry. Okay, thank you. Yeah, his shoulder thing is a shame because we like it when he plays. He has that pace. So for him, I would suggest Mahmood because I've seen him bowl very, very well in all forms of cricket in the last 12 months. I saw him in the PSL. Okay, that's T20, but he's sharp. He's got movement. I think he's so much a better bowler now than he was when he first threatened to be an international bowler. I think he's, the experience, which seems to do most people good, is a very special thing for him. And I think I would quite like to see him play, actually. I think he's got all the things that you need. And what he needs now is time playing international cricket. So I think that would be very exciting if they used his pace. He does understand things like line and length now better than he used to. So I think that would be an interesting pick.
Okay, so we've got 10 there. I mean, that's what I could just jot down in my mind because let's start from the top. Hamid, Burns, Hamid, Burns, Milan, Root, Bairstow, Butler, Curran, Robinson, Anderson, Mahmood. That's 10. And then would you play the left arm spinner and Jack Leach, or would you go perhaps left field with someone else, an extra batsman perhaps?
Is Pope in the squad? We might have the extra batsman.
Yeah,
because if you have Pope, who should be a good player, but has just had a bad year, a bad 12 months. Butler, who's started to show a little bit of form. Moen, who's fine. And this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 3 seamers. I mean, that's.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, we forgot Moeen Ali completely. My bad.
Yeah. So no, I mentioned him. I didn't mention him.
All right. So you stick with Sam Curran. Just a word on Sam Curran.
No. The Sam Curran thing, I'm not sure about Sam. The irony is this: Sam actually is the sort of bowler who might do well at Leeds. Okay. So that's tempting on that thing alone because he bowls it full. He is that little bit slower pace. He's the sort of man. I mean, we had a fellow called Mike Smith 30 years ago, came into play, played his one test match at Headingley because he was exactly the same sort of bowler. Brisk, left arm, and you get it to swing, get it to nip, and that sometimes suits Leeds. But that's if you take Curran out. If you say, okay, well, maybe he's not quite in the form of his life at the moment, and you stick Mahmood in, I think you get a bit more. I mean, what can you do? I'm tempted to go Mahmood because I just think he's potentially going to be a wicket taker for you. Whereas Curran is talented. We're not quite sure. I mean, Curran seems to be. I mean, I know remember his father ever so well. So he comes from a very spirited family. But I think he's destined to be in and out. I mean, I suppose here am I saying Mahmood, at a time where maybe it's a game that Curran actually should play. But I just my inkling is Mahmood gives you more strike power.